All right, we're live for Keeping It Real Masterminds. This is our second episode of 2015, and the topic tonight is how to leverage listings to triple your business with special guest Brad Korn. And Brad is out of Kansas City, Missouri. And for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Jeff Manson. I'm a Hawaii real estate broker and founder of Real Geeks, and my co-host is Frank Klesitz. He's the CEO of Viral Marketing. Say hello, Frank.
Hello.
All right. I'm going to go over a few items. If you're just tuning in, this is the first time you've ever seen Keeping It Real, I'm going to go over a few items of how you can get notified on these. The first one is going to keepingitreal.com, and on the right side on the sidebar, you can opt in with just your name and email. You can follow the Real Geeks Google Plus page. Excuse me. You can follow the Real Geeks Facebook page because we post all these events on both those. And you can also subscribe to the Real Geeks YouTube channel and probably get notified when we do the replays. Anyhow, our special guest tonight is Brad Korn. He's from Kansas City, Missouri. He's a Keller Williams agent. And so if you have any referrals, please send them to Brad for Kansas City, Missouri, because he's coming on here. All our guests come on for free. We don't pay them anything. They're just coming and contributing because they're great guys and they want to help other agents. That's what these mastermind events are all about. Brad has been in the business for 24 years, and last year, his 2014 production, he sold 100 properties with just him and his wife and then one assistant. So they did 100 properties, and it was, I think, somewhere around $12 million in production. He also is a KW International Facility Trainer. He previously was a MAPS coach and a whole lot more. You know, the bottom line is Brad's a really nice guy, and he loves helping agents. Hey, welcome on. Or welcome aboard there, Brad.
Hey, yeah, I mean, definitely send a look at my trees in my background, and then look at the trees in Jeff's background. Something is wrong with this picture. I need a lot of referrals, man. Trees green with an ocean behind me. Let's go.
All right, great. Hey, Brad. So when I mentioned your intro, you were previously a coach, and last year you did 100 transactions, but you did that while coaching what, 48 clients?
Yeah, 48 one-on-one coaching clients, just helping them with their business. Yeah, it was fun.
And you were able to still do 100 transactions.
Yeah, that was. I'm the listing guy on my team. I'm still the rainmaker. So without me there, nothing's happening. Basically, my wife picked up the slack on the buyer's agents. Heck, I even went out and showed 2 buyers. The week we let our buyer's agent go, Sonia and I sold 4 buyers' houses within 2 weeks, and it was one of those things where Sonia was out showing these buyers like houses for 3 days. I showed 2 houses, sold them the second one. The next day I sold a buyer showed him 1 house and sold it. So it turned into a competition. She's like, how the freak are you selling them houses so fast? Because I don't have time to work with them. They're buying the first one I show them. So it's kind of fun that our system rocks to the point that it doesn't matter whether somebody's working with me or not working with me. We can step right in, pick it up, and run with it, and the system's just carried on. It was just us 2 and my assistant. So your system must be really efficient in keeping you guys on track. And does she do a lot? I mean, can you let us know what she does? Well, yeah, and here's the thing, Jeff. It's really the system. Our admin is like a rockin' admin, but she's only been with us like 5 months. So we had turned our whole team over earlier this year, and she really is brand new to real estate. We didn't even get her from real estate. So the systems are rocking, but she's rocking because she rocks the system. And my previous assistant wasn't using the system. The team wasn't using the system, so it was one of those things where everybody has to use the system or the whole thing falls apart.
Right, right. So last year you had a little bit of transition while you still sold 100 homes as well.
Yeah, and it's we rock.
Let's talk about those systems. I want to go deep into the lead generation that you're doing. I think, Brad, you have one of the, I wouldn't say one of the easiest, but definitely one of the simplest forms of lead generation I have ever seen on autopilot that brings you so many deals so quickly. And half of your business, I understand, comes from a farm that you send mailers out to. And I think our audience would love to see examples of those mailers and explain the costs and how all that works and how the farming works. Is farming dead? Is it not dead? Obviously not, right? And then on top of that, what do you send to your COI? What do you send to your past clients, the people that you know, and how often? And I think people would probably also want to know too is, do you have some software or anything that you recommend that kind of manages all that? You know what I mean? So let's start with I say we start with so then once we go through that, let's get into like how you get 3 clients for every listing, and then maybe we can go a little bit deeper into the admin. But let's start with the lead generation. Sound good?
Cool.
So what can you share with us about the lead generation that you're doing and what people need to know?
Yeah, so here's the deal. I mean, as far as mailing is dead, we've been mailing to 15,000 homes for over 15 years. I mean, this goes clear back to my previous company before I was even at Keller Williams. I hooked up with a guy that put together the mailing, and we've mailed to 15,000 homes. Now, here's a couple of cool things that I like about what he did. Smart on his part for cost-wise. He would mail to 15,000 homes 10 months a year. So he actually would skip November and December, yet we would still be getting listings off the mailings like every month, every year. So basically, I'll show you a quick deal. This is like a typical mailing that you would envision that's got stuff about the Korn team, and then it just talks about all the different things we do. But quite honestly, consumers don't give a crud about all this stuff. I will tell you what I liked about this piece that he does is it really points out that we are the neighborhood specialist. It goes to, this content changes for every single neighborhood we send it to. So there's basically a blurb here about the market, what's going on, but this is the stuff that gets us the money. It actually says fact from 9/18 to 9/18, shows the last 12 months in MLS. 3 properties sold in Cumberland Falls. The highest price was $169.9, and that's bold. The average days on market was 155, and the average days was 62 days, blah, blah, blah. Consumers pay attention to this. What's funny is all the years, 15 years of doing this, I will walk into people's houses and they have these things 3-hole punch in a 3-ring binder, and they bring out the Korn book on my mailer.
That's incredible.
I know. It's like they've kept a history of what's going on in their neighborhood.
So your guy pulls the variable data, and it's the same thing for all 15,000, but depending upon the neighborhood, it inserts that variable data that he pulls.
Yeah. So if there's like 152 homes, only the 152 homes in Somerset will get the Somerset one, and then his flyer changes up for each neighborhood, and he does it all. I mean, he takes care of all that, but I pay him 48% referral on any listing I take in any of these 70-some neighborhoods that we market in. Here's the deal, though. My system was set up, like most people would say, you're giving him half of your listing commission. He pays for the whole mailer. He pays for my photography every year. He puts pieces together. It's hands-off. Cost him about $30,000 to $40,000 out of his pocket. So I pay him about $70,000 a year, which, by the way, I'm really giving you guys some really, I hope you guys are taking notes, because I looked at doing it myself, and it was going to cost me $70,000 to $80,000 a year to do 15,000 pieces, create it myself, and pay a mail house to do it. So why wouldn't I pay him 70% on results through 48% referral fee, and I'm collecting $90,000 to $120,000 profit off of him paying for the mailing up front? So that made sense for me. But what I'm getting at here is, for the average person, you're not going to have this guide. You'll spend $70,000 to put a mailer together for about 15,000 homes and mail 10 months out of the year. You don't need to mail in November and December when you start getting this going. And we saw results instantly. The minute he sent our mailing out, we picked up 3 listing appointments. And now over the years, every month this hits, I can probably count on getting about 5 or 6 listing appointments that week, maybe 5 or 6 the second week, about 3 the third week, and about 2 the fourth week, and I pick up about 5 to 6 listings every month off of it. So now let's talk one other thing, return on investment. So this is cool, and it works, right? It gets me, it's half my business, but it costs $70,000 to do. And when you look at the return on it, I mail 15,000 homes to get, 25 to 30 listings sold every single year. That, I list about 50 to 60, and we sell about 30 of them in that 12-month period, because I'm usually carrying about an inventory of 30 to 40 listings. So the return on investment really stinks, but the payout is profitable. It's about 1.5 times what I put in it, but I have zero risk on this deal.
Yeah, that's the key to zero risk, because he puts forth all of the expenses.
I only pay him if he gets me to the kitchen table, and he's totally banking that I'm going to get the listing, so he has to be careful who he puts on this program.
For someone that doesn't have that vendor, like, because I know it's a personal relationship that you have, anywhere someone can go to get like variable data printed on local newspapers that you would recommend or know of?
Yeah,
it's the variable neighborhood data that sells the farming. So
I believe you could get that area. I believe you could just export this out of your MLS and just have fill-in forms at your print house, and they could just dump that data. And it's just an MLS past 12-month search. That's all it is.
Interesting. Okay. Any questions, anybody, for Brad's farming? Feel free to go ahead and ask it here on the right under the Q&A box.
Hey, I have a question, Brad. What other sources are you generating listings? Because the whole topic is how to get 3 more clients from an existing listing. Is this your main source of getting listings? Are you getting any listings? Are you calling expire?
Yeah, no, the biggest, I mean, our database, I crank on the database. I mean, if I've got a velvet rope, I have learned how to master the database and the follow-up process there. That's where I would have everybody start, because there is business happening all around you every day. And I think, you know, here's the big thing, Jeff, and I don't know if you've heard me talk about this before, but in real estate, we are taught to go get the next piece of business. The next piece of business. I'm going to mail this till 5 people call me and I go list their house. And really, a lot of what we do is we're lead receiving. We're waiting for the phone to ring, and a lot of agents are sending stuff out there. They're doing social media campaigns. They're doing email campaigns, trying to get a message out to get the next person that's going to buy or sell to call them, right? So that's really lead receiving. But really what happens is everybody we're coming in contact with, if I met 10 people today, according to NAR, if the average person's moving every 10 years, that means one of those 10 people are moving this year sometime, right? So if I'm looking for the next deal, I might have to talk to 100 people to find the guy who's moving this month. You get it? So I might meet 10 people, and one of them's moving this year but doesn't know if it's this month or 3 months from now. Heck, they don't even know if they're a buyer or seller until about June. That's when they'll become one. Now, unless I talk to those same 10 people again in June when that guy's turning into a buyer or seller, I'm not going to find him again. So what I found is you keep everybody that's coming in front of you, because they're all going to move eventually. And if you put a 10-year plan in place to meet every single person or get every single person in your database that you meet from this day forward for the next 10 years, you'll be doing 100 deals a year in your sleep. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Well, so what do you send your database? So you have the farming, which is basically purchasing a list for the title company or whatever for the geo farming. But let's talk about the people you've met, past clients, there's influence, maybe buyer leads, seller leads, not ready to take an appointment yet. You bring all those into a database. What do you use for that database? And then what do you send those people? What's the action plan? Can you share with us?
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting over this cold here with the snow going. So I'm glad I got my antibiotics 2 days ago, or this would have been a really rough interview. So Frank, here's the deal. The follow-up process that I have in my database, so I have top producer, and I don't know that that's necessarily the key thing that I want everybody to walk away from here, because you can do everything I'm going to share with you tonight to get more listings from your database on any database, the one you'll freaking open every day and put somebody's name and address in and then stay in touch with them, right? So here's the thing, is in our follow-up plan, like I was just telling Jeff a minute ago, I met 10 people today. Only one of them might be moving in the next 12 months. So the other 9 people, well, all 10 of them just go on a generic plan. It's not about buying and selling real estate, because none of these 10 people are buying or selling right now. But I want to keep my logo in front of them, and I want them to see that I am the realtor, the realtor, the realtor. And so all of my follow-up stuff, I'm telling you, that this is the key thing I figured out. I send the dumbest stuff for the generic person that I dump into my database every day. It's chicken soup from the soul stories. I guess I shouldn't say they're dumb stuff. It's not the come list me right now, or find out how to make $10,000 more when you sell your house, because 10 people aren't moving right now. Why would I send them that? That's when they're going to shut me out. But I want to send them stuff that they'll take to work and pin my letterhead up on the board, or things that make them feel good. So I send chicken soup from the soul stories because they're awesome. I copied that from, the Harkers down in Dallas. They did a 21-day Chicken Soup for the Soul drip campaign, and I was like, oh, there's 21 pieces I can send a year, and I send 33 things a year. So that ate up 21 things. So I'll give you the structure of what I send out, because I think is that maybe what you're asking me, is what do I really send these people?
Yeah, like for example, you have a 33 touch plan.
Yeah.
So someone comes in your database.
Yeah.
I believe you have like an initial little warm-up sequence to build a relationship.
Yep.
But then everybody in the database gets these 33 touches over the course of the year.
Yeah.
All right. What are those things?
Yeah, so my goal is every day I go out, my goal is to get 5 people's address, phone number, and maybe email, but I quit worrying about email because that stuff's not working anyway. I mean, I get email when I can, but that's not where I start with. So I get 5 people that I can get their address, their phone number, and I connect with them in a conversation. I add those people to my database every day. So that initial warm-up sequence starts like this. If I can write a handwritten note to somebody and say, hey, it was great meeting you today, fun bumping into you at the gas station or at the chamber meeting, and it's all about them in my note card, and it's just a quick note card, no business card, no nothing. It's just that initial contact to go, hey, you're a cool person, I'm glad we met today. I want them to feel good, right? Then they're going to get 3 letters from me in the mail. And it could be mail and email. The more you mix up the mediums, the better. So I send them a letter. It just says, hey, it was great meeting you earlier this week. Here's the Korn team, and here's how we work and what we do. So I initially set up that I'm in real estate. Everything else is really strategic, that there's a success story in there of how we helped a for sale by owner sell their house, might be one story. Then a week later, they get a Chicken Soup from the Soul story. And then a week later, they might get an email that says, hey, go to our website if you want to find out how much a neighbor's house is for sale. And then a call pops up on week 4. So 4 weeks after I've met them, wrote them a note, another call pops up. My calls are like this. Remember, guys, I'm not looking for the next piece of business. I'm building a 10-year plan here. So all my call is like, hey, what's going on? It's been a few weeks since we talked. How you doing? Oh, we're doing good, good. Everything going good at work? Yeah, it's great. Cool. Man, it was just really cool meeting you last week. Yeah, you too, Brad. Okay, cool. Well, if you need anything, you let me know. Okay, bye. Click. Now, some people would think, what the heck? This is lead generation? You know what it is? Here's what I figured out, you guys. When you brand yourself as the realtor specialist, and they're not buying or selling real estate, so why would I send them that stuff right now, right? Because if they were buying or selling real estate or my screen blacked out, I lost you guys, or they were going to buy or sell real estate, and I'm talking to them on the phone, they already know I'm a realtor. Do I have to tell them I'm a realtor? I mean, they're the ones that are going to bring it up and say, hey, it's weird you called me today, Brad, because my wife just said something about possibly moving this summer. It's like, oh, great. Well, that's why I called you. Now I'm bumping them up the chain to a potential buyer or a potential seller. So, again, that's week 4. They get 3 more things mailed to them or emailed to them. Another call pops up on week 8. And when that ends, there's a 9th step to my plan. And this is just those campaigns or action plans, those automated series of events you can create in databases. Dude, that is the thing that will change your life. That's how you're going to get more listings, is putting every single person on a consistent, persistent drip that you can't turn off. So when that 8 weeks is up, it says start the next plan. Well, that's when they go on a 33-piece drip, and it is very strategic as well. It's a fun story, a success story, a fun story, drive them back to my website. Success story, fun story, success story, drive them back to my website. Couple more stories, a phone call. Couple more stories, driving back to the website. Couple more stories, find them on social media and post a message to them. It's a to-do. Just says, hey, go find them on social media and say something. So I've got about 4 calls a year, 4 social media touches a year that I'm personally having 2-way conversations with them between the phone and the internet, or little notes on letters or whatever, and then just a bunch of drip stuff in the middle to keep my logo in front of them. Honestly,
what are the drips? Are those letters, those emails?
Those drips are letters, emails. Here's what I figured out. The more you can mix them up, the better. And if you are going to do video, or if you're going to do email, it's like what you guys do, Frank. I mean, video is the way to go in an email. These all email drip campaigns are not working. They're not getting, I don't know anybody doing an email drip campaign that is getting them 15% return on investment. I mean, it's probably about 1, 2, or maybe even 3% conversion rate. So I'll tell you, I've tested this stuff because I did purchase some internet, some of the sites where they grab internet leads for you and they suck them in by the thousands every year, right? I signed up for one of those 2 years ago to actually break the system, to find out the secret code to conversion. And I'll tell you what I found out. That we had the very first year we did it with a really good buyer's agent, and I said really good, okay, really good buyer's agent. We had 1,000 leads come through our first year. 100. Now I went through every one of those leads, and I found out 100 of them got in my database. That means my buyer's agent got a hold of 100 of them on the phone, got their address, got their phone number, put them into our Met database, right? They got 100 people in, and we closed 24 deals. So here's what I know, and I'll just give you this breakdown. I'm like going deep business. This is cool. We got some smart listeners, don't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, cool. So, guys, here's what I do. Everything I do is a research project. So my deal was I got 1,000 leads. We got 100 in the database. We closed 24 of them. Sounds like a pretty good deal. 24 closings at $4,000 commission in my marketplace. I got to go where Jeff is. $4,000, $5,000 commission. So I made 40 some, almost $50,000 on my split. My buyer's agent made about $50,000, and I paid $24,000 to make $50,000. That doesn't sound like a good business decision. I mean, I didn't lose money, but man, do I really want to write a $2,000 check every month to net $2,000 at the end of the day by the time I pay salary, all that work? So you just gotta, when you're tracking that stuff, you gotta make, like my goal that next year was, all right guys, here's the deal, and one more year, but we got to get 300 people in the database, and I want 75 closings, and if we can do that, I'll sign a 10-year contract with this company. I couldn't get it there. So you know, it's the same thing with like this. It's a low rate of return, but it's like 10 ways to get business, 10 ways to get 10 deals and do it all and have it everywhere. But I will tell you that the most cost-effective way that I get listings is putting every single person I come in contact with into my database. So I just went to a real estate conference down in Orlando. I have had 4 referrals in the last probably like 5 or 6 days because those people have gotten handwritten postcards from me from Orlando. Everybody I met and got their card and stuff, and whether or not they even got a card from me or not, I gave them great information. I shared stuff. I've got them on I've actually got every agent I met in Orlando on a drip plan, sharing them my drip plan. All I did was say, hey, I'm going to share my drip plan with you. I'm going to put you on my drip plan so you can see what I drip on people. And they're on my just like drip plan as if they were in Kansas City.
You're getting referrals from.
But they can copy all my stuff and use it. So they're opening up all my stuff. And we've had 5 referrals in the last like 4 or 5 days. It's crazy.
Nice.
I think what's really cool for anyone that hasn't used Top Producer, I think we're all sick on this.
Yeah, we're all coughing.
Going around from one end of the country to the other, man.
Yeah. So one of the cool things for anyone that hasn't actually used Top Producer or Infusionsoft or whatever it is that you're using, they have different campaigns, drip campaigns. It'll tell you load this contact in. It'll say, okay, day 1, day 3, day 5, day 10, and you have multiple contacts. You can have hundreds of people on different parts of that campaign, and when you log into your software that morning, it'll say, okay, you have this many calls to make, this many handwritten notes to write. You just basically zero out your queue every single day. Is that what you're saying, Brad,
Yeah.
when you log into your software?
You know what? I'm really glad you're making this point because our brains are taught to go bulk all the time. Bulk, like whenever we're going to touch to our database, we're going to mail out something to everybody. Guys, I'm putting 5 people on the plan today, right? So a to-do pops up in my queue that says, did you send the handwritten note? So I mark those 5 people off and say yes, because I have to do it like right when I meet them, right when I put them in the database, or I won't get to it. A week from now, those 5 people are going to show up, and the letter's going to print and go. And the next week, another email's going to go, and a week after that, another letter's going to go. So 4 weeks from now, I go to my queue, and it says pick up the phone and call these 5 people, right? Well, think about what's happened since then. The next day after I put them in originally, I added 5 more people that came up with a to-do there. Their call's going to pop up 4 weeks and 1 day after these people that I'm talking about right now. The next day I added 5 people. The next day I added 5 people. So there's no way I would ever be able to keep track of who the heck I talked to 4 weeks ago and who I didn't if I didn't have a plan running. Second thing is I can manage 5 phone calls a day. I can't manage mailing out to even 150 clients saying, hey, I was thinking of you. Give me a call if you're buying or selling. Now you're waiting for the phone to ring again. But if I called all 150 people who were my close friends and I said, hey, I'm just wondering, you know anybody who's thinking about taking advantage of the market? How many more deals will I get out of that 150 versus seeing if I actually mailed a postcard when they were all thinking of somebody? You know what I mean?
Hey, Brad, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So you're doing this, and you're adding 5 people, and then you're going to be calling the 5 people, you know, a month or whenever it is, which is great. You're calling all these people. That's going to start snowballing. So how many calls a day are you up to? Because this starts snowballing. You
are so smart. Oh
well,
my gosh.
Oh my God, I'm so smart.
Now wait. Let me run the algorithm for you because I actually have run this out.
Okay.
It will take you over 180 days before you will be making 10 calls in one day.
Yeah, but you've been doing it for a while. So how many calls are you specifically making a day?
Honestly,
how many calls are you making a day?
No more than 20 to 27. I mean, probably at the most I see 27 calls, and that's very rare.
I think that's great. 25 calls to your center of influence or past clients and agents, asking them for business.
It's just everybody I've ever come across on this planet.
Sure.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're calling them at least 4 times a year, right? I'm hitting you hard on the call because a lot of people are probably listening to this going, oh, great. All I got to do is mail all this stuff, and they're going to call me. But they're going to want to ignore the call part because everybody wants to automate, and nobody wants to talk to people, but it's still a people business, so I want to hit this home. Brad is still calling these people and working them at least 4 or 5 times a year, each person in your database, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, because when you see these mailing pieces, I mean, you're going to see these pieces aren't generating business for me. In fact, here's what I figured out, because one of the things I do is I actually help people put these plans together. I've got agents that have gone through this and set these action plans up. If you skip the calls, you're going to get about a 1 to 2 to 3% return on your database if you just let the mailings run and you skip the calls. What we figured out is you can get 8 times more business by just making the calls and skipping the drip pieces. Now let me put this into reality for you, okay? It's 8 times more business, and that's like optimal. See, I'm not even at 8 times more business. It's like you run this 12 to 2 ratio that they talk about in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. Take your database. If you have 1,000 people in your database, where's my calculator? If you had 1,000 people in your database and you divide that by 12, 83 people are moving this year out of your 1,000 people database. And if you ran it right, there would be another 83 referrals that you should be able to get out of those 1,000 people. So that's 160 transactions a year. So I'm probably on about a 12 to 4 or 12 to 5 return, because I don't always make all the calls, but it doesn't matter when I miss one here or there because the plan's running and I know something else is going to pop up, and I'm not going to miss the calls on purpose. So, but I have yet to like be so overwhelmed. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't make this many calls, because everybody tries to put 50 people on the plan on one day. They're going to get 50 calls in one day, and then they shut down. So I'll give you one more example of how this really works. So if I'm mailing like the best freaking marketing pieces I can think of, the best headline, the best call to action, and let's just say I pick up the phone and I'm supposed to call Mary Jo today. So I call Mary Jo and I'm like, hey Mary, it's Brad. Hey Brad, how you doing? Oh, things are going good. Here's my normal script if I don't have anything specific to talk about. I say, so how's everything going with the family? She's like, oh, you know, little Susie started kindergarten this year. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, she just went last week, was her first week. Cool. So let me ask you something, Mary. Have you got her college fund already like set aside and college is paid for? And she's like, college paid for? What are you talking about, Greg? Now remember, I'm connected with her. I'm like, oh, I'm serious. Do you have college paid for? She's like, well, no. What do you mean by that? And I was like, well, I mean, this is where I help people pay for college. You could buy an investment property right now, put it on a 15-year note, and we'll sell that thing in 15 years and pay for her college. She's like, you can do that? I'm like, yeah, you want to get together for a cup of coffee? I'll show you how it works. And she might be, oh, yeah, this week's kind of crazy, blah, blah. Okay, well, I'll stay in touch with you, right? Find me one postcard that would have showed up on that same week in Mary's mailbox that said, is college paid for, even if that was the headline, and it said, I can show you how to have college paid for in 15 years. Would she have picked up the phone and called me?
No.
Absolutely not. Most likely not. But that phone call, that's why I say what's fun about this, guys, is I don't have to sell being a realtor at all. Everybody knows I'm a realtor. All I got to do is hear my voice and go, here's a normal call. Oh my gosh, Brad, I meant to call you last week. I forgot my sister's getting married in New York and she's moving to California, and I was supposed to call you and see if you knew anybody. It's like, oh yeah, I can hook you up. Just made 2 referral checks right there by calling somebody who was like, oh yeah, it's great you called me today. Second, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, so the key is to call people. All
Yeah.
right, I just want to stress that because everyone wants to automate everything, and they're all looking for the magic bullet. You
Yeah.
put systems in place, but then you also got to call, and connect, and call with a reason, like Brad did. The whole call stage, that's great. You guys should all write that down because you're in a market like that. Oh my God, that was brilliant. Write that thing down.
So here's the thing. The title tonight was how to triple your listings,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Here's the 3 magic maybe 4 magic formula. 1, every single person you meet, you put them in their database and get their address and get their phone number. Don't worry about the email so much. You can get that anytime.
And this could be anybody you meet.
Anybody you meet. They're all moving sometime in the next 7 to 10 years, I promise. Everybody does, right? So anybody you meet. Second thing, write a handwritten note. Third thing, call them back in a few weeks. Fourth thing, call them back a few weeks after that, and then just stay in touch with them consistently, persistently. That will blow your business up.
That'll blow your business up, but how do you leverage and get from one listing get 3 more clients?
Yeah, when I take a listing to get 3 more clients.
Yes.
Yeah.
How are you leveraging those listings to generate 3 more clients?
No, that's cool too, because that is the one reason why I was willing to pay this guy 48% of my listing commission. Listen, when he came down to pitch this, he was going to all the top agents. He'd go to the top 1%, and they'd be like, why would I give you that? I already dominate this market. He sat down and showed me this thing, and I'm like, dude, my system is to get 3 buyers off every listing I take. He wasn't even 2 minutes into the deal. I'm like, where do I sign? He's like, well, no, let me show you this other cool stuff, Brad. And I'm like, dude, just sign me up. I get it, because I get 3 buyers off every listing. So that's where I leverage technology. And sometimes we get caught up in all this cool technology, right? Remember when QR codes came out? So the Cyberstars is a group of top techie realtors that I hang around. They're the top 200 techiest realtors. They all sell 200-300 homes a year. I'm like the small fish in a big pond with this crew. And we talked about QR codes 10, 12 years ago, right? So what I look at is out of technology, like text writers and all that stuff sounds cool, but what you have to put on your sign is what gets the most calls and how does it get me the contact information of the person calling so I can call them back in 3 minutes or less. This is my secret. The secret is 3 minutes or less on every lead. If you get an internet lead, if you get a sign call, if you don't call them back in 3 minutes or less, guys, it's old news. You're old. By the time you call them back 10 or 15 minutes later, all they do is they say, like, now who is this again? And then you feel all stupid about it, and you're like, you were calling on an ad, and they're like, yeah, no, it's no big deal, bye. If I call them back in 3 minutes or less, and they say, and I just say, hey, you were just calling about a property or listening to a recording on a property, I just wanted to give you a quick courtesy call and make sure that recording answered all your questions. When I say courtesy call, that's been my magic word that keeps them from getting mad because I caller ID'd them. I call them right back and I say, hey, quick courtesy call, did that recording answer all your questions? Oh, yeah, we were just wondering the price. Oh, the price, okay, so are you thinking about buying or selling a house? Now I can roll right into my script and I can get their information. So I still use the old 1-800 number IVR recording system because I found in my marketplace that, first of all, my real estate signs are reflective, so I get 24/7 advertising, right? But not too many people call the name and the number on the sign. I just want to grab their attention. It says free record, 24-hour free recorded audio tour on the sign, and that's on the right or small. The 800 number is huge. I thought I had one laying around here, but I don't. My 800 number is big because I want them to see it from sitting in their car looking at the curb. Some of these signs are so small, I can't read it from the car, let alone a text writer, right? So my whole positioning is I've got to get 3 buyers off this listing, so make it easy to see the 800 number, They put in the code, a caller ID captures their number, and somebody's returning their call as fast as we can. And I mean, I still might only get 75% of them called back in 3 minutes or less, but it's working. You know, I get at least 2 buyers off every listing that we close. The goal is 3. So that 800 number writer is the one way we do that. But if it's a text writer code down at the bottom, here's the way I look at it. If I had 100 people, and I use this in my listing presentation, by the way, I say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, when you hire me to market your property, I'm going to get more at-bats than any other realtor you're going to talk to, because I have this 800 number writer we put on the sign. So let me give you an example. You hire some other realtor that puts a sign in your yard, and 100 people drive. How many of those 100 people do you think would pick up the phone and call the realtor's number on the sign, right? So now they're really cool and they're techie, and they put the text writer on there. So 100 people drive by your property. How many people are going to get their phone out and text that number in, right? How many people do you think would call a free recorded message on an 800 number? I don't have to say anything else. They're like, oh, yeah, that's it. And I'm like, yeah, and see, nobody uses it because it seems like it's not techie enough, or they just don't want to pay for anything that they don't have to pay for, and that costs real money every month, whether your house sells or not. So that 800 number works for me. I still use it on every listing.
I love how low cost those buyer leads are, too. So your cost per buyer lead's about what? Nothing?
It's sick, Frank. Everything I do is about nothing. Yeah.
So here's the deal. You're probably getting listings because of it too, because buyers need to sell their home as well, right? So you're asking for the listing too, or find out if they have a property sell too, right?
Yeah, statistically, I think it was something like 76% of all buyers have a house to sell. So yeah, you got to be very on purpose. I mean, we're just on purpose about every person is 1 or 2 more deals, you know, including referrals. So
awesome.
Okay. We got some good questions we can get to. Do you want to hold up a copy really clear to the that mailer? Why don't you show everyone that mailer again and hold it up really clear to the camera? Let's see if I can get a good shot of it. Hold it real steady for us, Brad. Yeah, it's probably not going to come through too well on your webcam.
Well, when you're talking, we can't see it. It's still showing you, Frank, by the way.
Oh. It should be good now. That's as best as you're probably going to be able to see it there. And just so you know, you can take it on down. There's going to be a replay, so you can go back to that little spot and pause it and copy it all down.
Honestly, guys, I actually have a website that has like all of my 8x8, my 33 touch. The only thing is, if I give it to them, they got to promise me they won't read the content. They'll just copy it and use it and read it later. Because if they read it, they won't send it out. And I'm telling you, I do 100 deals a year with it. But I've got a website, a free website that they can go download. It's kornteam.com/database. So now here's the thing, kornteam.com, kornteam.com/database. Here's the thing, when you go there, it's going to ask you to fill out a form, like your name, your address, and your phone number. I might even let you off the hook with just your name and email, because I had so many agents going there. I just went ahead and created an email follow-up system for you that will mail you my follow-up system that you're welcome to copy and use as much as you want. But when you register, when you hit submit, it'll take you to a website. You can download all this stuff. You got a copy of this mailer there. You got all my letters. You got all my drip, a bunch of my drip plans. It's just stuff I talk about when I get on these webinars. So they can download all that stuff for free.
Yeah. So here's a question Kevin asked. What CRM do you use? I think you mentioned Top Producer.
Yeah. Kevin, Top Producer, here's the thing, and I'm glad he asked that question, because here's the thing I want you to be really clear about: a personal touch type system. Honestly, I can tell you the real, true, honest answer, and I'm not giving you any fluff, is the database you will get in and use, open up every single day, and add names, addresses, and phone numbers. So you can just start with your social media list right now, open up Facebook, and just spend the next 2 weeks converting 5 of those people, finding an address and a phone number and adding them to your database, and then pick up the phone and call them and write them a note, right? That right there will double or triple your listing inventory, your business in general, just doing that, even if you don't have the campaigns and action plans. But you're going to know within about a week or 2 if you really like that database or not. And if you hate it, quit using it. Go find another one and sign up for a 30-day trial. But what you're looking for is one that will let you completely customize your campaigns. I would suggest you get one that will let you print letters to your local printer, because one of the things that we do on our local letters, I probably have 150 letters that print every day. In fact, here was our letters that came out today. This one says, puppies for sale. That's a chicken soup from the Soul Story. And see here, the next guy on the thing, he got the same letter, but he was from a different day. And then we got, you know, why they bought their house. These are our letters that came out today. These are a couple letters that printed out that had some typos on them. So my team gave them to me just to look them over and see if we need to add something. Here, the fun thing about a system like this too is, like, as much as we do this every day, this one came out with no letterhead or anything. Now, the cool thing about the way I set up the system is this letterhead here is actually built into my letters, so I don't even put letterhead in my copier. It just prints this from the Word document that's built into my database. So I can do stealth marketing on top of, like, this one where we did a little bit different header. We've got the one that announces the team and talks about the team. I've got pictures built into it. This just prints right out of blank paper onto our copy machine. So all we do is say print the 150 letters, they print. Now what I'll do on a stack like that is I'll flip through, and maybe 5 people a day I'm like, oh, Frank, I just talked to him last night on webinar. Hey, Frank, the webinar last night was awesome. It's great seeing you on the camera. And I'll just do a chicken scratch little note to maybe 5 people a day. So what that does is it's bringing the personal touch back to the follow-up system. And I mean, if I do it one day, great. And if I don't the next day, I don't worry about it because the system can't be turned off. So there are literally hundreds of plans running, and I only have 4 or 5 people starting on this every day. So I just space it all out over time, and it works, man. You know. So the thing to answer there is, if I would get a customized campaign so I can really customize, because no database is going to give you a plan that I talked about today. They're all talking about mass, easy, because they want you to love their product, and they just want you to feel like you don't have to do any work. Guys, it's work to make phone calls and write notes, but that work is worth about $5,000 every time I do one of those, right? What's your dollar per hour? So if you can print to your local printer, the email should go out automatically. Use very few of those, though. I would go all mail before I keep it on an email plan, just so you can see and touch and feel what's going on and making those calls. And secondly, that you have a dashboard that you can go to every day that says, here's the calls you need to make today. Here's the to-dos. The to-dos are things like go find them on social media. The plan just ended on this person you put in the database a year ago, so you need to start the plan over again or everything stops. So it's got to be automatic, because if I have to remember to do it, it's not going to happen, you know.
Let's go back again. The system that you use to get 3 buyers off every listing is just basically calling the buyers back within 3 minutes.
3 minutes or less. That's our rule.
But the system is he's using the 800 recorded to get more people calling those, so then they can capture that and call them back, right, Brad?
Yeah, honestly, it doesn't matter what system you're using. It could be a text writer, it could be an 800 number, it's your internet leads. If you would just, I mean, that is business. Here's the thing. It's all business because they're going on a 10-year follow-up plan with me. Well, for the rest of their life follow-up year plan. So this is another interesting thing, guys, because I just got 3 buyer's agents onto my team. Brought a brand new girl on. Her husband is a loan officer. He's been in the loan business for as long as I've been selling real estate. So I had him out to lunch, and I explained to her, you know, this whole last year it was me and Sonia and our assistant running, right? So we had 600 internet leads come through last year between March and just like last month. 600 internet leads came through our company website. Sonia and I didn't have time to deal with those. We were dealing with the people that were falling out of the sky, right? So I handed that to this new buyer's agent. I said, this is how you're going to learn to sell real estate. Now there's a list of 600 people here. And her husband goes, oh, honey, those are the dead leads. And I went, and it just clicked for me, guys. I mean, this was like a huge aha. I said, the dead leads are the hottest leads you can possibly get, because I've been getting hot leads every day for 2 years, and we convert 1 to 2 to 3% of the hot leads into business. 70% of my old leads are ready to buy real estate now. So her very first old lead she followed up on came through my system 3 months ago, like back in October. She calls him about 2 weeks ago on a Friday, and he goes, oh, yeah, thanks for calling. Yeah, I actually just wrote a contract on a house last night. That's a 3-month-old lead, her very first call. So here's what I want you guys to take away from this. The old leads are your hottest leads you can get, but the hot leads are going to be the ones that you follow up on 3 minutes or less, get them into your system so nobody else can ever get them again. because they're yours forever. You're peeling everybody out of the market now, and you own them, and nobody else will be able to get them 3 months later. But they'll call you 3 months later because you've been in touch with them. It's amazing. I mean, it's not rocket science here. I think we're all putting way too much thought into finding the next deal. And the deals are your deals to do 100 deals started 3 years ago. If you guys have been in real estate for 3 or 4 years, you could be doing 100 deals right now. I started 20 years ago. And I only work like 2 days a week, really, because I'm doing like other stuff. I've got other revenue streams going. The real estate thing pays my house lifestyle and my real estate business, and then all my other stuff's the fun money, you know?
Did you hire Veronica asks, and this question got voted up, did you hire a specialist to set up your drip and to create the content? Or does someone manage that for you? Like, first off, so I would assume, how did you create all this content?
Awesome. Awesome question.
And then who actually mails? You have staff that mail these letters?
All right, so this will be the absolute most difficult part because you only have to create the plan one time. There is no content. You don't have to sit around and think about content. So I will tell you this from personal experience. I'll take you back to when I figured this out. Gary Keller wrote the book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, back in 2003. I think it's been out for 12 or 13 years now. So January of 2003, I'm like everybody on this call going, I'm going to make my database work. That's it. If I have to hear this stuff and how easy it is one more time, I'm going to just be sick, you know. So I'm all in, January 2003. July of 2003, I'm like still working on letter number 3, trying to find the perfect story, and I hadn't done crap. So July of 2003, I said, that's it. I'm putting 5 people in my database every day. I'm just feeding them. I created 33 blank documents. I created 8 blank documents, and I just made them empty and called them week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, call week 4, week 5, week 6, call week 8. You know, I just created the campaign. I put 5 people in a day, and I started them on a campaign that had no content in it. So literally, blank letters are shooting out of my printer every day. But I realized I had to get the habit of putting 5 in a day before I'm sitting there spending all the time figuring out the plan. By the time I wasted, and at that time I was using letterhead, so I have letterhead coming out of my printer, you know, blank, and it's just like, okay, this is stupid. So I finally threw in three pieces of content. That's when I was like, that chicken soup from the soul will work for right now. You know, I'll change it later, right? Now, I haven't changed the content much at all in, 15 years of doing this, 10 years of doing this. So the guy who gets this puppy dog story on July 1st every year has gotten the puppy dog every July 1st since he's been in my database. You know how many people have called me and go, hey, how come you keep sending me the puppy dog story? No. You know what they say on year 2 or 3? They're like, oh, man, I love this story. And they don't even know it's been me that's been sending it to them. They just keep seeing the puppy dog story. Because, again, guys, what we figured out through the people that have gone through this, that I've taken through this plan and just set up their systems, is that those are just the bridge in between the next phone call. The phone call is where the money happens. And for every 100 people that you add to your database, so if you added 5 people a day, every day, 5 days a week, that's 25 people a week, it's 100 people a month. In that month, there's only 10 of those 100 people each month that are going to move in the next 12 months. But I actually would have to talk to all 100 of them every single month, the same 100 people every single month, to figure out which one of them is moving this month, and then which one's moving next month, and which one's moving the month after that. Because when I call them all, it's 1 or 2 know they're moving in the next month or 2. The next 1 or 2 don't know they're even a buyer or seller yet for about 2 or 3 more months, and I got to call them all again to figure out which one they are. That's why the system is set up that way. So as I'm going through that system and I keep adding it in, that's when your business starts to crank. So I'll find all 10 deals every single month, which, think about that, 100 people a month, 10 of them are moving. I did 100 deals last year. So all I'm doing is adding 100 people to my database every month, and I'm doing 100 deals a year. I mean, this isn't rocket science. It's the numbers play out just like they're supposed to. So I think, where was I going with that? I know she had asked something. Did I miss out? Or
she was asking how to create the content.
Oh, yes. So the content doesn't matter at all. Content, there is nothing my content. Now, I do have a little on purpose where I'm programming them for referrals and this and that. but that's all happening on the phone calls and the personal message. I mean, they're calling me. That the phone is ringing, but it's because I've called them 4 times or 5 times over the last 14 months. They're just calling me when they're now ready to do something or they know somebody that is.
Yeah,
Cool.
so you're following up with your center of influence like agents should be doing.
Man, it's so stupid simple. I mean, as soon as you start putting thought into it, it's like, well, and I could do, no. 5 people a day, write some notes, and then set up a reminder just to tell you to call them very consistently for the rest of their life. That's all there is to this.
And a little bit of content in between.
A little bit of content in between, yeah. And heck, I think you could probably even skip the content if you called them 6 times a year.
I think you could, but you know what? Here's the deal. Most people are going to want to send that content because now they'll feel like, oh, they know who I am. I've been sending them stuff. Yeah. It'll make them feel better.
Well, so you know what? I'm glad you said that, Jeff, because here's the reality. Your calls they'll overpower you at some point. So by the time you get to any day where you have 50 calls to make, here's what's going to happen. You're going to have morphed into a team, and you're going to have people on your team making the calls for you, and you're just making 1 call a year. So now my 4 calls a year turns into 2 calls a year, and then by then I double my business again, and then I make it 1 call a year, and my team's doing the other 3 calls because I want them connected with everybody on the team, like we're just all one entity. And eventually, I'm not doing any calls. I'm sitting like right there behind you, like probably even poking up over that tree, just kind of going, hey, during your webinars, going, Brad's here.
Hey Brad,
let's talk about that team. We got a question from Karen.
He's got his team calling on his behalf, and they're basically just calling on your behalf, like, hey, Brad asked me to call, right?
Yeah, and it's always about, hey, Brad and I were just talking. That's like the lead in when you're first doing it. But you ease into it. You don't just start doing it tomorrow, because you should be making, I will tell you, the Rainmaker needs to make as many of those calls as they possibly can, because you know how to find deals better than your team does.
Well, I want to ask you about, let's talk about the assistant. So you're able to do a lot of this work by having people do the work for you. How much do you pay an assistant, and where do you find a good one? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, I will tell you this. For the first 2 years, I was stuffing and folding and licking envelopes in the morning. That was my training to get into 1 to 2 hours of lead gen time block. So you guys will really, probably for the next 6 months, you should be doing this yourself. So there would be agents. I mean, here's the envelopes, you know, here's the letters. I would be sitting in my office, and I'm the top agent in the office, and I'm stuffing and folding and licking the envelopes, and somebody'd walk by and stick their head in and go, so you lead generating, Brad? I was like, yeah, a lot more than you are right now, you know. And I would just be like, because I'm putting letters in, I'm writing notes on it, and I made sure those letters went. Because when I turned it over to my team too fast, here's the thing about a team concept, is that we're overpowering them with all this stuff that they have the same to-do list you do. It's like, oh my God, so-and-so got a fire burn, and I got to go take care of that. I got to get this for him. I got to get that for him. And that seems way more important than stuffing envelopes. So I remember walking into my office one day, and there's 2 days ago letters, and there's crisscross the next day, and there's crisscross day 3. And I was just like, hey, is somebody getting those letters in the mail? Because I know there's like another letter coming out to that same person in like 4 more days, you know, because if they were on the 8x8, they get something every week. I was like, those letters have to go. Yeah, I know, Brad. We're just really swamped right now. It's like, no, you don't get it. That's the reason we're swamped, so those have to go in the mail. And I would just sit down and start stuffing envelopes. That stuffing envelopes and making those calls was the most important thing I could have ever done. And I did that for a year before I even got to the point. Like, I would literally, Frank, go rent a movie every night, and I love movies. So I would turn a movie on, and I had an assembly line on my coffee table, and it was the letter, the envelope, the label, the stamp. And I just watch a movie, and I know exactly, it'll take you 1 hour per 100 letters when you get this thing flowing. So you're going to be able to watch a movie every night and stuff envelopes for probably the first year before you even need to worry about having an assistant, because nothing else is more important than these touches going out and you making your calls. Everything else is a distraction. And unless you are in front of people that are going to think of you when they think of real estate or hear somebody talking about it, all that other stuff does not get you business. I mean, you've already been doing that plan for a while. So I would say really let your business pay for itself by you committing to this for 1 year or 6 months, you know, until you just literally can't get it done, and then that's when you hire somebody. You can hire anybody for $8 an hour. Kids from school, your kids will stuff envelopes. That's a no-brainer, right?
Your cat can lick them.
Yeah,
Lick 'em.
yeah.
The kids love licking them.
All right. Are there any other questions there, Frank, before we wrap up?
We got one really good one that got voted up. Is do you leave messages when you make these calls?
Absolutely.
What time of day do you call?
Absolutely. Anytime, all time. So it doesn't matter. When you're calling people multiple times, voicemail is just like, hey, it's nothing urgent, because I just wrote him a note or talked to him 4 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago. And in the 33 touch, it's about every 3 months, but I also instant messaged him a month and a half. Every month and a half, they're either getting an instant message or a phone call. So I can leave messages. It's all, I mean, it's cool. Just say, hey, it's nothing urgent. I was just thinking of you. I always say stuff like, hey, I was driving past your neighborhood the other day, and I thought about you. Well, I thought about them because they popped up in my queue, and I mean, I just, hey, I was thinking of you today. If you don't want to lie, then just say, hey, I was thinking of you today because your queue told you to. You know, so it's not that difficult.
Okay, good. Here's
Now,
a really good one that I should probably ask you.
I will say one thing. I'll tell you why that question comes up all the time. Because our brain is still going to the next deal, the next deal. I got to get them converted into a buyer or seller. You guys do realize I'm not looking for buyers and sellers, because if they are buying or selling, I don't have to even use the script. Hi, this is Brad Korn with Keller Williams. Are you thinking about buying or selling? All I have to do is go, hey, it's Brad. How you doing? They're like, oh, fine. It's like, so what do you do? You know, if I haven't met them before, I say, hey, I'm a real estate agent. I just, you know, out goofing around today. It's like, oh, real estate agent? Hey, we're thinking about buying or selling. Now, see, people are coming to me for business. I don't have to go convince them to do business with me, because I know they're going to go in my system, and I'm going to turn them into business anyway.
Let's hit one last question, and this is, I think, is a good one I want to pick. How do you find the 5 people a day to add to your database?
Awesome. That one always got, it's like the same questions all the time. So it's, I mean, this means they're getting it, really, because this is what I hear all the time from everybody I share this with. The 5 people are anywhere. Stop looking for the next deal. Now, I know everybody on this phone call, if anybody is thinking about real estate, you're not going to miss that opportunity. I promise you. It's not going to matter whether you know your script or don't know your script. Heck, how many thousands of realtors are getting deals every day, and they haven't even been into script class yet, right? We're not going to miss those deals. Here's the thing. If you turn your mindset around and just go, I'm in the relationship building business, and they'll know I'm a realtor, here's what you're going to find. You're actually going to create real estate business that wasn't there before you met with them. Because what happens is you and I talk, and all of a sudden you meet realtor, and then you get my handwritten note, and then you see my logo 4 or 5 times. If there's this thing called a reticular activator system, like when you get pregnant, all of a sudden you see pregnant women everywhere, or you get that brand new car, you see that car everywhere. Dude, as soon as they meet me, they start seeing real estate signs everywhere, and guess whose signs it is? They're seeing my sign everywhere because their reticular activator's on for the Korn team. So if anything, I'm probably actually proactively creating real estate clients rather than waiting for them to figure out later on that they might be one. You know, so we can get into a whole deep side on that. So the
your approach is, it's a very relationship building process.
Dude, it's like fun. There's no pressure, and I mean, it makes it fun. Now, I'm not saying I don't get crazy clients and I don't convince people to buy and sell. I mean, I do all that every day on a natural basis. But I should answer the question directly. If you want to get in the habit of 5 a day, I'm telling you, start with your social media. Every social media site that you have an account on, I would say most people on here have anywhere from 300 to 1,000 people. That is going to keep you busy for the next 3 months to 10 months. This is a 1-year project. Or if you have a current database that you have right now, most agents have somewhere between 300 to 500 people in their database. Maybe some people even have 1,000. If you just reconnect with 5 of them a day, just start at the A's in your database and pick up the phone and call them and write them a note. And do it until you get to the Z. Don't start cherry picking. Just start at A and go to Z. They're all in there for a reason. These are the easy ones. Just reconnect with them. I'm telling you, just those 2 things between your social media and your current list of people. Oh, your phone. Oh my God, that's my thing that I came back from my conference with, is I'm going through my phone. My phone and my social media sites are going to be 100% synchronized with my database by the end of this year. And I mean, I do a pretty good job of it, but I'm telling you what, there's got to be at least 500 people on my phone that are not in my database, you know, because they come in and I capture their number, and I do this on a daily basis. So I will tell you this, I can't not find 5 people a day, and I've been doing this for 20 years. I just put a name to it back in 2003 and got it on a consistent, persistent follow-up plan called the 8x8 and the 33 Touch. But I've been doing it from day one. I mean, when I got in, I knew I needed a database to keep track of everything. So they're everywhere, I'm telling you. Just stop thinking about the next deal and just start connecting with everybody you've ever met.
Well, Brad, dude, thank you so much for the awesome info. I'll have Jeff
All right.
wrap it up for us, buddy.
Yeah, all right. I just want to thank Brad again coming in. He's shared a lot of valuable information. And my biggest takeaway is you can't get away from the phone. You got to still talk to the people. It's a relationship business, but you got to put it on a plan so you can execute it so you can't squirm out of it. Because most people say, I'm going to do this, and if they don't have it in a plan and something that's telling them every day what they're supposed to be doing, then they can get slimy and not do it, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I'll add one quick thing there. Don't get smart and think these cascading plans are pretty cool. Like, oh, well, that next item won't start until this one ends, because I'll tell you, you'll end it really quick. Set it up so you can't turn it off. The database, the technology, forces you to do the things you need to do, which is I got to keep up with my calls. And believe me, in my first couple of years, there were 2 or 3 times where I had a list of 50 people and I fell behind, and you know what I did? I threw them in the trash because the plan could not be turned off at that point. It didn't matter that I didn't make the call because I wasn't making the call before that day. So well, who cares? Just don't get too caught up in it. Now, you do that enough and you know you're throwing business away, so you won't do it very many times.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, don't do that. You tell them that, they're going to go, oh, I can be slimy, 50%.
You're gonna have to do it once or twice in your first month of doing this. You're just gonna fall.
No,
behind.
of course, right. But your goal every day should be come in and call your people you're supposed to. If you just do that, if you just execute it on calling who you're supposed to every day, the business will just naturally come to you. Anyway, I can go on. You're preaching to the choir here. But I want to really thank Brad. He's been a great guest. And our next hangout's going to be March 12th. And I believe we have Mark Martin coming back on. He did a previous one, how to convert more Zillow and Trulia leads. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to be talking about, but I'm sure it'll be something good. So, hey, until next time, thanks a lot, guys. Aloha.
Fun hanging out with you.
All right, bye.